After the hurricane, I got to be around my family a lot more, and that's when I started to notice Reed's mental issues. Part 48 of sharing my story on here because it's so much easier than writing another book. I started really noticing that Reed was struggling with like awareness and not being able to see things or remember things. Like he lived really well in the present, but it was like he couldn't plan for the future and couldn't remember things that happened yesterday. And so he started going to a number of specialists, like to try to figure out what was going on with his head. And no matter who we took him to, he was fine. There was nothing wrong with him. And it just didn't make sense to me. But there were actually a number of years where I was like, there is something not right. And I don't know what the not right is. Like, why don't you remember things? And this created this shift in our family where I was already taking care of the money and all of the outside resources. And now I'm seeing how like the kids need a lot more support. Now, I've always been close to my kids and I've raised them and we've raised them to where they are individuals. They are sovereign. I am not the boss of them. It is my job to grow them into functioning humans in the world and help them understand all that they need in order to be prepared to live in the real world. And so that is just a completely different style of parenting because I'm not objectifying them and treating them as my object. I don't own them. They're my kids, but they're not mine. I just brought them into this world and it's my job to help them navigate the world. I've always seen them as individuals and that they like have their own path in life and they have these unique gifts and they have weaknesses, and we just learn to work on those things so that we can better function in the world, because that's what makes sense, right? We would do these fun things. Like I love to answer questions. It's probably my favorite thing in the whole world. And they would rapid fire questions. And we had the 4 littles is what we called them. And then we had the 1 big, she's only 4.5 years older, but the 4 littles would just fire questions at me like crazy. And I would just rapid fire this, and then it weaves into this, and then it weaves into this. And I have this head that through the lens of human design, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. Like I'm an avid researcher and studier. I love connecting dots and seeing the field and putting the things together. And it was just so much fun to answer every question. So that was my rule with my kids, is that I will answer every question you have, and I will be honest. If I don't know the answer, we will use the internet to figure out the answer, and you're going to learn how to do research because that's how you learn these days. It's not through sitting in a classroom. It's not through doing endless book work. It's through like having questions and then following that curiosity and learning about whatever you want to learn about while you're learning your life skills. So being around the kids more was a lot of fun. Right after the hurricane, we did this thing, and it wasn't even a business. We were just giving away sweet tea, and we would all drive through town with the doors open, and we had a piece of scrap metal on the side, and it just said Harvey's sweet tea. And we were just giving tea to all the people that were helping clean debris, and it was so much fun to really teach the kids like safe food handling and like how to serve people and interact with the community and make friends. Like we were just having a ton of adventures and fun. And so in a lot of ways, we were just this big family, the 7 of us, and just floating around doing all this fun, crazy stuff and helping however we could help, because there were donation centers everywhere and the donations would come in massive like amounts. There would be parking lots full of clothing and cases of water. People would just drive through town and give away cases of water. But then you would get like a ton of certain things. Like at one point we had an entire box of toothbrushes, and I'm like, what are we going to do with a lifetime supply of toothbrushes? And everybody we knew had a lifetime supply of toothbrushes. Like we had enough toothbrushes for the entire state of Texas. And then there was another time I was asking the kids, what do you remember from this time? They're like, we had an entire refrigerator full of pizza Lunchables. It was like, you would just get thousands of one thing. And it was such a community atmosphere of really a lot of people coming together and working together. But then there were the looters. Like, I learned how to really scare people, and it was kind of funny. We had a bunch of trees on the property, and they're naked trees at this point because all the leaves are gone from the storm. But guys would come by, you know, in their great big trucks, and it's a bunch of redneck type dudes with their shotguns, and they would just have like 4 guys in the back of a truck. And they would just rummage through people's houses and just take whatever. And I at one point when we were going back and forth between the condo and our property, we had a neighbor that survived. They were in a cinder block house. They were an elderly couple, and both of them in motorized carts, and they did not evacuate. He had built the house for hurricanes, like 40 years prior, and they weathered it out in the storm. This woman was profound and powerful like you have never seen. She's like in her 60s, 70s, in her motorized cart, wears muumuus, has all her dogs and cats with a shotgun. I would bring her dog and cat food and brand new muumuus from Walmart in exchange for her protecting our property. But once we were living out there, I'm not really a pew owner because I just all that happened in my childhood, I learned how to use my mouth. My mouth is my most dangerous weapon. And yet through Texas, I learned how to use my body and form too. I would sneak up behind the trees and the shadows whenever I saw the guys circling around. And I would jump out from behind the trees like Superwoman with my hands on my hips and scare them, and then they would drive off, and it was really quite funny. There was actually another time where people were coming to dump like one of those giant old TVs that would like stand up, you know, it's one of those huge projector TVs. They were dumping it on the side of the road and right across from my house. And at this point, this season, I'm taking care of a dog that was my oldest daughter's dog that her boyfriend had because she was living with him for a time. And I was like, the dog is not safe over there. She had left him, and I'm taking care of a dog. And I am highly allergic to animals, so I can't touch them. We communicate through energy and words. And so, she's a beautiful pit bull. And I had such a good relationship with this dog. She was so terrified from all that had happened and was just like severely not okay. The dog was not in a good situation. Neither was my daughter. And I'm glad she got out of it. And she ended up going and doing some other stuff. And I got the dog. And me and this dog couldn't touch. But she would sit next to me. She would follow me everywhere. We had this amazing relationship. And these people dumped that TV on the side of the road, and Nikki, my dog, was sitting right next to me. And I told them, I was like, what are you doing with that TV? They're like, we're just going to leave it here for someone else. And I was like, no, the fuck you're not. You need to load that shit right up and take it away. They look at me, they look at her, and she's just smiling at them. That big old pit bull smile. And they picked up the TV and they hauled it away. So I turned into like me and the courage from the lady next door, because I'm like, I'm going to be like her. If I'm in this situation, I could see how I would turn out like that. Like in a muumuu with my motorized cart and a shotgun. I learned so much about how to protect my space and my energy and just not fuck with people. Like, no, we're not going to do this. Oh my goodness. There was another time, there was a lot of drugs around there, like, you know, the really harsh ones. And there would be people that would just walk by, and my daughter, who was about 10 at the time, and we're sitting around the fire pit, because that's where we cooked our meals, was around a fire pit, because we had the RV that was like not safe. It was moldy and kind of gross, but that's where the kids slept. Like, we'd cleaned it up real nice the best we could, but it just wasn't good. So we'd have to air it out all the time. And then we slept a lot of times outside in tents. Sometimes we slept inside. Like, it was really scattered living. But these people would be walking by, and she's like leaning over the bench, and she asked me, she's like, Mom, why do people do drugs?